Hey guys, today I want to talk about Pokemon distribution. Getting cards from distribution as a small store, as someone starting up as a card store. Many people say this is extremely difficult, and it is pretty difficult, especially in a crazy market like this. But I want to talk about a story with not my main distributor, one of the not like one of the side, the distributor I don't spend the most money with to get English products. But they are one of the larger distributors in Canada. But let's leave it at that and let's talk about the story. So I really pissed off this distributor. And I know some people have pissed off the distributors before by revealing the prices that they paid for the cards and whatever. And I didn't do any of that. And I want you to let me know if you think this was warranted or not, because I personally think the sales representative was on something that day or on the several days that these occurred. But just listen to what happened. So let's start off. It took me about 2 years to get this account, even though it wasn't my main distributor, because when I just started out, I was super excited to get a distributor, like most, right? And I was like, more distributors the better, right? So I went after one of the larger distributors in Canada after getting my first distributor, which is the main distributor that I work with. The sales rep I have is nice. I've talked to the owner of the distribution company, and all that is great. But we're talking about this other distributor. This is a huge distributor with multiple levels. They got all the sales reps, we got like the higher ups, the presidents, the founders, all that. Now the thing with this is the sales rep I dealt with is not a representation of the company or the distribution industry for Pokemon cards at all, at least to my knowledge, because I don't believe that everyone is a scumbag, everyone is out to get you. But I do think in this instance it may have been quite bad. And so what happens is, basically, to my knowledge, when you go and apply for these accounts, so they were really reluctant to give me an account because I was an online store, right? And no proven real history of like huge volume. And so they kick you to the bottom of the barrel, like the worst performing sales associates. I could be wrong. It could be random, like random assignments to account managers, but it would make sense that the certain people would handle the higher up clients and then certain people would just handle the low bottom level stores, right? So I assume this guy is a low bottom level store handler because of how he handled this situation. So what happened is several things actually. The first probably problematic thing was, I think the guy was relatively nice before, but as it started to get more, like there was more traction with Pokemon, so obviously we start ordering more with the secondary distributor because, when there's less product to go around with the primary one, you move on to try to find product in other places. So I've been ordering product off the site. This was like roughly maybe a year ago now, because prices were starting to go up, but they still had a lot of inventory on the site to order off of. So I would order off a bunch of inventory. But here was the scummy part. What would happen? I'd place the order and he wouldn't process my order for several days. He is extremely busy, whatever, with other customers. Of course, I get that. But what he would do is he would end up charging more because they would raise the price on the site, and then he would charge me more. And I know they're free to do whatever they want, but he didn't even let me know. And the thing is, the kicker is, he didn't do it for a bunch of the regular packs, but I bought a specific item that was like older, and I guess they're really running out of inventory where they hiked up the price a lot, like 25% hike. And he only upcharged me for that one. And I don't know if it's a mistake or an accident, which is why I called him. I was like, hey, I just noticed that you charged more for this than how much was on the invoice, because the literal invoice said whatever cost it was, and now it was 25% more. And he said he was ballistic. He was like, we can upcharge whatever we want. Our prices are done. It's not reserved until we fill the order or whatever. And you can either return it or just keep it, but I'm not refunding you the difference. So this guy was ballistic on that, and I just thought that was really strange because the invoice said whatever price and he charged more than that. And I thought maybe it's a mistake. That's why I called him and just asked him nicely. But he wasn't happy with that. And I don't know if it's because he didn't want to, because it looks weird, right? If the sales rep is refunding you money or whatever, right? He didn't want that, I don't know, his boss or whatever to see that he made a mistake or something. But his entire approach was really unprofessional, not nice. And I get, sure, if I'm not a big account, you don't hold me to high regard. But, that's just not a great way to treat people or customers. But it is what it is. And I was actually talking to my main distributor about this, the owner actually. He's a great guy. And although, there's another whole other story with that, because, I feel like when you start out, it's crazy with all distributors because they're for-profit business. They're trying to make money. But he was saying, like, he's heard of things happen like that at that distribution company. He might be just bashing them just because he's a competitor, right? But he was saying, like, he has heard from other customers that, especially the lower sales reps, they want, backdoor stuff. And I've heard of this happening in the US, some conspiracy of the distributors taking bribes, whatever, the sales reps wanting, like, whatever, compensation from take them out for whatever. That's what I've heard from even some individuals who are speaking in the US. And I thought that was outlandish, crazy, because that seems ridiculous. For some cardboard there's the sales representatives are asking for price. Like, that sounds crazy. And when I dealt with the first distributor, the main guy, they were way beyond that. So I could never imagine that happening. I thought those people were just completely insane. But after dealing with this way larger company where there's so many levels of sales, there's always shady people who could ruin a brand image. It's not a representation of the whole brand. So that's what I'm assuming happened. You run into a bad guy rather than the whole company is bad. So it's not that distributors doing shady stuff, but it's just, you might have some bad account managers. Now, this is not the end of it, because after that, shortly after, whenever I email this guy, inquiries, whatever, he just doesn't respond, responds very late. But when I tried to place an order after that for just, I don't know, like a couple cases of some tins, it wasn't even some crazy popular tins. They just restocked it on the site, and there was no limit. The sites that you could buy as many as you want, first come, first serve. I buy a couple cases, right? So I need these tins. Why not? Great thing to stock. And he just, this is the first time I've seen him email me fast. Emails me saying, all caps, limited 6 per customer. You're not allowed to have more. And then I was just confused. Like, on the site it says it's, first come, first serve. And then he said, no, limit 6 per customer. Let me know if you want it or not. You can only have 6. I said, sure, I'll take 6. And then he emailed me back like a day later saying, sorry, it's sold out now. You actually can't have any. So I really don't understand if this is like a real universal experience of treatment from large distributors with so many like sales reps and account managers. If anyone out there owns a store and has a small store, not a big store but a small store where they also have an account with a large distributor, I wonder if it's like that for you too. But I just thought that was some pretty unfair treatment. And then following that, the Journey Together release comes, and they send out an email, right? Pre-orders, get your pre-orders in now. I try to pre-order, like, I know, like, I don't spend a lot with them, so I just pre-order like one case of each. And again, I get an instant email, like, not instant obviously, but like very, very soon, like within an hour. He's like, all caps, just to let you know, you're not getting anything of Trinity. I'm like, I read the email and I'm like, yeah, no worries, I understand, right? Keep it professional. But I honestly don't know if this was from the 6 months before leading up to it, of his just built up hatred from one calling him out. Of, I called him out one time, just nicely, asking about why the price they charged the card is 25% more than the invoice price from the date I bought it. And he just like, I didn't even return the products. I kept them. I just took the hit and we moved on with our lives. But I don't know if he didn't, or he just treats everyone like this. This is how it is for small accounts working with big distributors. He's the big guy. I don't know, but that's pretty much. And if we're being quite frank, even with my primary distributor, if you're just starting out, they upcharge you huge amounts, and they'll charge you basically almost as a retail customer, because they don't know if you're serious or not, especially your online store. I'm extremely grateful they took the chance to give me an account, and he still gives me stuff at releases, like even as just an online store. And I really appreciate that, because although at first it seems unfair that they're charging you so much more, you gotta understand the business model of wholesale, right? But I can make a whole other video about that, about the trials and tribulations of getting a distributors, especially in Canada. It's crazy, and the industry is crazy. Some people, you know, it just is what it is. But I just wanted to tell this story because this guy's extremely pissed off. So don't know where to go from there. I'll probably just look into other distributors, or wait till all this cools down and then he's desperate for the sales on the account, and then we'll work on it. And I'm working on the Japanese and Korean cards instead. But yeah, if you own a store, let me know if you own like a smaller or medium store and you get Pokemon cards or other TCGs from distribution, if the treatment is like this for small accounts, or it's just because it's a large distributor, I don't know, or it's just that guy. But yeah, let me know in the comments, or let me know what you think at all about this situation. I don't think I was in the wrong, but I could be, so let me know from a third party point of view. And yeah, that's it for this video. And if you liked or enjoyed, learned anything, subscribe to join the journey, and I'll see you guys in the next one.